Those of you that know reflected wave will know what I'm talking about. This day right here was the 1 day late for a bottom, and today we're having a very spectacular rally. The day started out looking like the market was somewhat weak, but we stayed with a long position. We're not long now, but we stayed with it up to some numbers up at 50. I can't remember what it was. It might have been 56, 57, but we're up at like 72 right now. They've really run them pretty good here. And this is what we would expect off of a daily bottom. We do have other things for the relatively near future that are very interesting. And unless this market is going to just tear, all the way up to make new highs, we do think that there are lower prices that are going to be due on a specific date in the relatively near future. So I just would want you to know that. All of the information for these forecasts are given out in our meetings. And while I can't say that having this information will guarantee you a beautiful wife, a beautiful car, and a beautiful family, because you can have all of those things many times without having to make tons and tons of money, I can tell you that having really authentically good information about the authentically high probability of what's going to happen can make a big difference in your overall success. There are people who have said and say things that are silly, like you don't have to know what the market's going to do in order to make money. And I refute that entirely. You precisely do have to know what the market is likely going to do in order to consistently do well investing in markets. If you authentically don't know what the market's going to do, you are not going to be very satisfied with the results of what you're doing, right? I don't know where that statement comes from, and I mean, it's made by, just another form of ignorance to make a statement like that, that you don't have to know what the market's going to do in order to make money. You actually do. So our work is to put together the most likely thing that the market is going to do, and then do our best to put that into the form of a suggested trade that people could take in the form of a group, because we don't give individual investment advice, but we give that information out simultaneously to everybody. And they can take that information to heart and see if they can do something particularly good with it. Today was a good example of us doing that, although we weren't in the entire move all the way up now to 72. Let's go to the weekly chart really quickly, and let's talk about that just for a moment here. This week is the week of September 13th, and this is the week that we have been forecasting back from over here that the market would decline into the week of September 13th. And there would be a big move into it and a big move out. Even though that is the case, there is another indication that the market will likely have to be lower than the low that we made this week at two different points in the future. And those two different points in the future can be called in the way that I'm saying that it will happen, precisely because there are forces that are not yet manifest, but that we're timing their manifestation. They're showing up. There's the train showing up at certain points, and that by those points, those forces will push the market to another point. So I'm using the principle all the time. I've used it 100,000 times, right? However many times I've made forecasts once I've understood it. And it's very clear to me that even if it's not exactly correct, the way that I'm describing it, it's an unmanifested force that exists. That part I know is true. There is definitely an unmanifested force that exists, or at least a potential. And there's definitely timing for when it shows up. There may be some deeper way to say that that's even clearer and maybe a little different, but I can, for practical purposes, demonstrate that that explanation that I've given you does fit what you end up seeing. So that's why I say that it's, it's true. I've never said that. I've went over this a million times, that I don't claim to have anything near the whole truth. I only claim 1% truth, and I would if I lived 1,000 years, because that's how deep the universe is. Samuel's here and he says, does this mean that the S&P has bottomed out for the week or month? Actually, without going into the full forecast, it means that we do have a bounce that's likely going to occur, a multi-day, before another move down, that there is more force to the downside. So there is more yet unmanifest force that would push the market lower. Now, if I'm wrong about that, and I am, of course, capable of being wrong, but I do a lot of work, preparatory work, to make sure that when we do come out with a forecast that we're not wrong. But I don't know everything. I have to work with what it is I do know, what it is I do understand, and I do. And I'm thorough about it. I go into it. I don't fool around with it, and I'm not looking to make $100, and I'm not looking to make any money. I'm looking to be correct.